So it's recently dawned on me that not many people know about my brand. So LUMA is my brand. It's my baby. And I've been putting so much time and love and effort and energy into Stellar Journeys that people actually think Stellar Journeys is my brand. Stellar Journeys is actually my signature offer. That's my service. My brand is LUMA. And I realise that I have not really spoken much about LUMA, what that even means, what it represents. And so I'm going to rectify that. I want to start talking more to you and making it clearer to the world about my brand, LUMA, my business. So I will tell you a little story. Back when I first started my healing work professionally, I was a Reiki practitioner, and I decided to name my business at that time Reiki Star. Now, the reason I called it Reiki Star was because before I started my business as a healer, I was doing healings for myself. And so I did my Reiki 1 training, and I was healing myself pretty much. And from day one, from when I first started activating the Reiki energy and doing healing on myself, in my mind's eye, because I would always do it with my eyes closed at that time, I could see this star, or what I thought was a star. It was like a pulsing light, and it was a very odd shaped star. So it didn't look like your typical star. It was like a thrumming light that sort of came in and out, and it had this really kind of quirky shape to it. And so the more work I did on myself, the more healings I did for myself, the more I would see this star. And I became, quite familiar with how it looked, how it felt. And I started to realise or recognise that whenever my star appeared, because it didn't show up through the whole healing session, it would only sort of pop in for a few short seconds and then it'd disappear. And I started to figure out and understand that when this star came in to the healing, magic was happening. More magic was happening, because there was already magic happening when I was working with the Reiki energy. But I started to work out that this star was different. It wasn't Reiki. And when the star came in, there was always something extra special that would happen during the healing session. And so that star is what I named my business after, Reiki Star. And so that was my brand for a few years. And then I transitioned away from Reiki, because the more I started to work with energy and with spirit, the more I realised that what I was doing was so much more than Reiki. And it got to the point where I was starting to feel, as a healer, I was starting to feel like working with Reiki energy and Reiki symbols was capping my abilities and my capacity to tune in and to channel and to heal. And I resisted for quite a while, but I eventually decided that it was time for me to step fully away from Reiki. And so I had a little ceremony for myself. So when you become a Reiki practitioner, there is training and there's what they call an energetic attunement. So they attune you to the Reiki symbols and to the universal life force energy that we are all connected to anyway, but there's like it's a refinement of that, I guess you could say. And so it's very sacred. It's a really beautiful ceremony. And when I decided to step away from Reiki as a healer and as a channel, I felt personally called to do my own ceremony to separate myself from Reiki so that I could fully step out of that part of my journey and out of that energy. Because when you attune yourself to an energy like that, like Reiki, that has, you know, decades and decades and decades of history attached to it, and of other practitioners like working with it and working with the symbols. There's you know, a specific kind of framework within the whole Reiki world, that, you know, things you do, things you don't do. And some people branch out and they kind of make their own version of Reiki. They still call it Reiki, but they alter it in some way. And so Reiki has evolved dramatically from its origins. And some people still work with the original Reiki energy. Some have adapted it and given it like a Reiki such and such, given it another name. And I just felt like I needed to really step right away from Reiki so that I could step fully into what was going on for me, which was basically a clear, direct channel to source, to spirit, for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of communication, for all sorts of things. It's like I wanted to explore my own way to heal and to work with energy. And so it made sense that I could then, Reiki Star was no longer a viable business name. But my star was still my star, and it was still showing up, and I was still working with it, which one told me what I'd already suspected. It wasn't actually anything to do with Reiki. And so I still wanted to honour my star the way I had done with my previous brand. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's my business name? What's my brand going to be now then? And I spent so long, and I did get quite frustrated at one stage, because I was like, what do I call what is my brand? What's the name? What name am I giving this star thing, being, energy that I see, that is working with me, that I'm working with? And it's funny because I was in my head, and you know what happens when you get in your head? Not much. You get in the way, you get in your own way, and that's exactly what I was doing. And so one day, very frustrated, I'm laying on the floor in the middle of the lounge room, splayed out like a lunatic, just having a moan because I didn't know I wasn't coming up with a name. And there was a download in a split second. Now, if you've ever had your own downloads, you know that it's like a millisecond, the blink of an eye is the time that is all the time that it takes for a whole lot of information to just go clunk. And so I had this download laying on the floor going, oh, I don't know what I'm going to call my business and what I'm going to call my brand. And I can't remember which one came first, whether it was LUMA or whether it was Nova. But one of those two words dropped in first. So let's say it was LUMA. And I was like, oh, LUMA, light. Like that, you know, that's cool. I like it. I like the sound of it. I like the feel of it, because I'm all about the sound and feel of words. And I was like, yeah, light fits. It fits because it's a a star, and a star is light, that's one way of thinking of a star. And so I sat with that for a while, and I thought, I don't think that's the whole name. I don't think LUMA, and it was LUMA that came in first, now I'm remembering. So I'm like, LUMA doesn't feel finished. And so I kind of, after I kicked myself for being so annoyed with myself because I was in my head trying to think of a name, once it dropped in, I was like, of course it did. So I remembered that the best thing to do is to surrender, and when the time's right, things will land. And so I had this hunch that that wasn't the whole name. And so then I started playing. I always have like a big A4 like notepad sitting on my desk, and I go through them quite quickly because I just scribble and scrawl words and ideas and bits and pieces on it, and half of it doesn't make sense and half of it doesn't see the light of day. But it's good for me to process things. And so I wrote down LUMA, and I just kept writing LUMA over and over, and just started playing with the word itself. And I really liked the way I felt like I was starting to build up a bit of a relationship with that word, and I was liking it. It felt good, but it still felt incomplete. And so I started playing with. I'm like, okay, star. What's LUMA star? Yeah, maybe. So then I started thinking about, well, what's another word for star? And so I was coming up, I had all these other words written down in my notebook with LUMA before and after. And again, it wasn't from thinking or brainstorming that it came through. It was another download, and it was the word Nova. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. LUMA Nova. And so I did a big rebrand, and that was the anchor, LUMA Nova. And I didn't realise it at the time, but that was her, my star. I call her my star. She's not my star, but I call her my star because we work together quite closely. That was her sharing her name with me, because I didn't think of her as anything then. I didn't think of her as anything other than a cool star that I saw that popped in from time to time. Now my battery's about to go flat, so hang on, I gotta gotta put the computer on charge. So yeah, I didn't think of her at that time as anything other than a cool star that popped in. And then over the course of the next few years, the more I started to see her and work with her, the more I realised she's a living entity. She is a being. She is like my master helper. And so we have developed this really beautiful relationship. And she still doesn't come in all the time, but she comes in often enough. And I guess basically it's like any relationship, we're getting to know each other. And so she is a big, big part of my brand and my business. She works with me and I work with her, and we have a big task. She's shown me what we are doing, and what's to come. And I think I want to just talk more about LUMA Nova as my brand. So there's her, the LUMA Nova. But so to me, she's all about light. And when she comes in, she's just got this, it's like, it's just like there's an exhale. She's very calming. She's very mindful, not mindful's not the right word, intentional. So she never rushes anything, which is hilarious because I'm like chaos, not chaos, but I go pretty quickly when I'm on a roll. When I'm in the zone, I'm like, I move quick. She's very much about slowing things down. She's like that beautiful big exhale. She just feels like you're getting a giant hug from the universe. And so that is very much the basis for my brand, LUMA Nova. She is very much about nature, the earth, and we all have stardust in us. We are all made of stars. I truly believe that. And so she is representative of earth, the human experience. LUMA Nova is very much to me about just being really real, not putting on a front, not trying to be something that we're not. And so spirituality, it's, for me, it's about can we all just be ourselves and have a spiritual side, however that looks, because we are all so different. We are all so unique. And that's what her quirks, like when I mentioned earlier, she was a weird shaped, like a really strange, kind of unusual shaped star. We're all different shapes and sizes. We all have different interests. We all have different gifts. We all have different beliefs. And so, LUMA Nova, my brand, is very much an embodiment of that, a representation of that as well. We get to be spiritual in whatever way we want to. And it's about blending the spirituality with life, with the day-to-day, with the everyday. So I often talk about everyday spirituality, and that's what I mean by that. It's like, how can we be spiritual while still being ourselves? How can we be spiritual without putting on a front of some kind, or doing things or saying things or showing up, expressing ourselves in a way that's not really us? Does that make sense? And she's creative, like she's inspiring. She inspires creativity, expression. There's so many layers, there's so many pieces to her and to my brand. And so I wanted to share that with you. I hope that gives you more of an insight of my brand, LUMA Nova. Some of you will never have even heard me utter the words LUMA Nova before, because it has been a long time, because that part of my business, for me, it hasn't been a focus. It's just so familiar to me. I'm just so familiar with her, LUMA Nova. I'm so familiar, like that's my website, lumanova.com.au. I haven't given it any thought, because it's just such a natural, normal part of me and my business. And it's funny because I'm so used to it, it hadn't occurred to me that a lot of people are going to have no idea what LUMA Nova is, what it means. So I'm going to remedy that. I'm going to start talking about LUMA Nova more, because I think the more I talk about my brand and LUMA Nova and her, and how her and I work together, and everything that we stand for and that we represent, and our why we're doing this, you know, to help, to heal, and to heal writers and creatives, but also through that, through the ripple effects, help and heal the world. It's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna feel more into what else I can share with you about Luminova, so that you have a better understanding, and the world, you know, this will be out in the big, wild world of the internet. So I think it's important that, you know, people understand who I am, what my brand is, what I stand for, why I'm here. Because, you know, you kind of need that if you're trying to find someone that can help you. And so on that, how can I help you? There are a few ways that I can help you. So Stellar Journeys, of course, my beloved Stellar Journeys are my signature offer. So they've been through some different iterations as well over the years. They started out very different to how they are now. And I won't go into that story now, but Stellar Journeys they're my baby. They are weekly channeled meditation sessions, so healing meditations. I channel one Stellar Journey a week, and I upload it into my portal for my tribe, and then the tribe has 7 days until the next Stellar Journey is channeled. They have that 7 days to put on their headphones, immerse themselves in the journey and the healing and the wisdom that comes through while I'm channeling the session. And they can listen to it as many times as they want in that 7 days. And then we do it all over again the next week. And the whole purpose of Stellar Journeys is to help writers and creatives, because we are creative, because we love words, we're all about storytelling, we're all about creating and expressing. Stellar Journeys pretty much helps writers and creatives to express from the soul, and not just soul expression, it's organic soul expression, it's authentic soul expression, it's natural soul expression. So it's not about me telling you or teaching you, you know, do this, do that. The whole intention of Stellar Journeys is for writers, for the tribe, to go inwards and have their own epiphanies and have their own healing moments and have their own, unlock their own wisdom and unlock their own creativity. And then to embody that. And meditation is a practice. And so it's no good doing one week and then expecting, I mean, they're pretty damn transformational, let me tell you. And 1 week will help, but when you have that consistent practice, which is why I have the annual subscription, you can pay monthly if you want to, but I really recommend people jumping in for the year, because it's like, right, I'm in. For me personally, if I'm subscribing to something else, like if I'm getting some coaching or if I'm, you know, subscribing to, you know, because I've built my own website myself because I didn't trust anyone else to do it properly. Because, you know, when you have the vision in your head and it's like, no, you know, and you're not getting it. So I taught myself how to do all the tech to build my website. And so I had a subscription, a tech subscription that was, you know, taught you how to build websites, and it was a whole thing. And so I was like, I'm in this for the year. I personally love diving in for a year with anything that I'm doing, at least, at the bare minimum. Because then it's like, right, that's my commitment. I'm in, I'm here, and I'm doing this. And so it's very much the same with Stellar Journeys. You know, if you can commit to a year and tune into these weekly sessions that are magic, they are the epitome of magic and miracles and healing and experience, like spiritual experiences off the charts. You know, if you can do that every week, even if it's just once a week for a year, you'll transform your whole life. And the whole point is to help you realize your own potential as a writer, as a human, and express from the soul in a really organic, authentic way. How else can I help you? This is a very new offer and I haven't really done much with it yet, but it's there if anyone wants it, is what I'm calling scribe sessions. These are one-on-one sessions, and it is pretty much me tuning into your soul energy, and I channel poetry and prose and words from your soul for you. It's done remotely, it's done offline, it's done without you knowing when it's being done. So basically you'd pay for the scribe session and I'll say, hey, thanks, you know, yay, let's do this, I'll be in touch. And then the next time I'm in touch is pretty much to say, here's your scribe session. So you have no idea when it's been done. I'm very divinely guided. And it could be, you know, at one evening, it could be in the middle of the day, it could be on the weekend, it could be during the week. Like they drop in when they drop in. And so I will scribe a very beautiful session for you from your soul, from spirit. So there's that. And I also have my book, Equilibrium. Equilibrium, I wrote that in 2019, and it is very much about helping you find, well, it's pretty much what I'm doing, so helping you to find your own version of spirituality in a way that works for you. So it's filled with lots of tips and suggestions. It's got my story in there, or the start of my story. I should actually do another, the second part of my story, or the next part of my story, because it was a while ago now that I wrote it. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful book that is very easy to read. Lots of practical DIY exercises in it, lots of cool stories of all kinds. So there's that as well, and you can buy that directly off my website if you're in Australia, or anyone anywhere in the world. You can buy it from all the usual online bookstores, Amazon, and the like. So at this stage, that is how I can help you. I'm going to be doing retreats for my Stellar Journeys tribe. So I've got one coming up at the end of next month, which is in the still planning stages. So that's exciting, but you do need to be in the Stellar Journeys tribe to be invited to those retreats. And it's a day retreat, so it's going to be somewhere on the outskirts of Launceston. It's still a secret where I'm having it, because I haven't revealed it to the tribe yet, so I better not spoil the surprise. So that is me right now in a nutshell. So I hope that gives you more insight into my brand, who I am, what I'm doing, how I can help you. Sing out if you have any questions. Sing out if you have any cool stories that you want to share with me, because I'm all about the cool spiritual stories. I will see you around.